for the latest in traffic, weather, and information. Catch the Morning Grind weekdays right here on tncradio.live. Welcome in tncradio.live. This is Keep On Talking. And now here's your hosts, Christine and Tom.
Hey, thank you very much, Tom Kelly. It's a pleasure to be here tonight, as we are each and every week, as we gather around the counter of knowledge. It's a lot harder to do so in truck stops nowadays, with them taking out the restaurants, the limited hours, and the limited service. And so this is our way as drivers to get together to exchange knowledge, thoughts, ideas, concerns about the trucking industry, as well as maybe remember friends and just share stories and other tall tales. So we are glad you could join us tonight. I'm joined with my co-host, Christine Gray. How are you doing tonight, Christine?
I'm doing really good. Thank you, Tom and Tom. It's a beautiful night.
And I heard a vicious rumor that your bosses, heard you were going to be on the radio and made you work anyways.
Yes, they did. Of course they did. Anything that's, pleasurable or fun, they're going to take away.
Bosses are weird like that. Except for you, Mr. Kelly. You're the perfect boss, and you never take away our pleasure. Phew, I think I dodged that bullet. But anyways, on to tonight's topic, which kind of coincides a little bit here with the counter of knowledge. If we remember back before the pandemic, you could walk around almost any business, any store, and it was easy to find help, easy to find employees. There weren't all these weird hours and people constantly saying, hey, it's the supply chain, or we can't find employees, or whatever it is. So, we're 2+ years since, everything as we know it has changed, and we're into what many are calling the new normal. And part of that does seem to be a lack of employees. As truck drivers, we've often been used as barometers by different people for the economy, whether it's for stock market indicators and various other things, because we get around and see so much. So what I thought I'd throw out to our folks here at the Counter of Knowledge tonight is, what are you noticing out here? What are some of your thoughts about the shortage? Is it maybe that we had so many people go out and start businesses of different kinds, whether it is maybe a trucking business or a small service business in your community, or an OnlyFans page, or whatever it is, that they went out of the traditional workforce? Or are there other reasons and factors? Maybe they're only working one job now instead of multiple jobs because of some of the increase in pay at many jobs. What is it that we think, or is there something else in play? And I think, we're going to have a very diverse group of opinions. In fact, we're going to start off with somebody we haven't heard from a while. Jess Graham, how are you doing tonight?
I am doing pretty good. I wish I could find more drivers, but what is that the exact topic we're talking about today?
It could be about drivers, or really about the employees in general. But knowing us, it's going to sooner or later turn into the trucking industry, whether it's with drivers or employees at the truck stops or whatever it may be. But I think what we're seeing as drivers in our industry is kind of a barometer for the rest of the country.
Yeah, I mean, when I go home, the few times that I do go home, I do know that there is limited hours at the Family Dollar because they can't find anybody to fill all the shifts. For me, I'm a small company, so I don't see the trickle down that normally has. So I hire drivers. I can't insure new drivers to the industry. I mean, I don't like anybody that much to pay that much money to insure them, really. But I have to rely on a driver that started in a training fleet and then worked their way into a mid-sized fleet, and they got a little bit of experience under their belt. And then at the 3 to whatever mark, then I can actually employ them. But I'm seeing even those mid-sized fleets are having trouble getting those trickle-downs from the training fleet. A lot of it is that these fleets are just, in my opinion, are just burning out drivers, leaving them, churning through them so fast by throwing them out there unprepared and setting them up for failure, that they're not actually going to make it past the 1 year mark. And I think it was Indeed.com that actually said only 1 in 6 drivers does make it out of their first year as a truck driver. That's scary. But as far as that goes, there's also record NCs opening up, because I guess those people that were in that 17% success decided they were tired of getting used and abused and had just enough left in them to take on opening up their own trucking company. So would I still be trucking if I could sell feet pictures? Probably not.
Well, we're not going to go down that road tonight. That's a rabbit hole.
I feel like Tom and Tom, though, you expected me to throw out one of those jokes.
I really was.
And I don't ever want to disappoint.
Well, Jess, you never really do disappoint us here. But I think you throw out something that's interesting and something I was actually thinking about going into later in the show, but let's throw it out now. As many of you drivers know, I have stepped out of driving day to day. I do some fill-in work now, and I'm working in the office over at IBI Security Transport as a evil recruiter. Yes, I'm one of them folks. But I take a different approach. I want to talk to drivers and make sure they're the right fit. Being a driver myself, I remember what it's like to be a driver. I remember how important it is to be honest and upfront and be as clear as you can on the expectations and how as much works as you can. And that's one of the things I try to do is my best to make sure that anybody I talk to, whether they come to us or not, or if it's somebody who's new looking in the industry, gets enough information to help them make an informed choice, even if it's against our company going someplace else. But the thing that I find very interesting is I'm having a large number of people fresh out of trucking schools calling us, wanting to apply, starting the application process. And as soon as I see they're, less than a year, less than 6 months, there's nothing that I can do with them because of our insurance. And in talking to some of these people, one of the things that I'm finding that's very interesting, they're having problems finding jobs at these big training fleets. And I wonder if there has been an unintentional consequence of these new training requirements with these certified schools that some of the experienced people might be able to get working for an owner-operator, being trained by them, et cetera, that could count towards that experience. They're not able to get it now. So now we've got this situation where we have so many drivers that are looking for opportunities. The opportunities to get in are very limited to these mega fleets to have their own schools and things like that. And I'm wondering if that could be playing a bit of a role on this and people are getting discouraged and moving on to other things. Bruce, let's kick it over to you for a second here. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing fine.
Hey, Bruce, let me do one quick thing first. I just realized something. If you want to take part of tonight's conversation, 706-862-8620, 706-862-8620. We still got plenty of room for you. Let's kick it back to you, Bruce. Sorry about that.
It's all right. Now, as everybody knows, I do drive for a mega fleet. And we own, 4 companies now. And one of them is a training company. And I don't see them having a problem filling the schools. We are taking our drivers over here in Hartland from training schools.
Now, quick question for you, Bruce.
Go ahead.
You may not know this answer. Is Heartland getting to a point, or any of the big fleets you may be familiar with, where they're having so many trainees or people from the training schools apply that they're actually in the place where they can be maybe more choosy about who they're taking than in the past?
That's a possibility. I don't know.
Go ahead, Jess.
Don't know, really.
I think that they're not choosing anybody. And I've talked with a driver that said, well, they chose me. No, they didn't. You're just a number. You're just a face. They are bringing in so many people, not because they want to actually invest in your success. It's because it benefits them on the government subsidy side. So they're getting money for job creation and job training from the government. So they don't care if you ever haul a piece of freight. As long as they enroll you in that school and graduate you and get you off into a trainer's truck, they get money. And then you see schools that have split it up and have learned that you also get continuing education money when you split it. So you've done a phase 1 training, they get their training dollars, and then they make you upgrade to solo qualified. So you have to do a second qualification and they get more money. So I don't think that they really care if you make it out in solo, as long as you fill a seat in the training. And also they want as many students to run through there because it waters down their CSA scores in terms of numbers, because every CDL you have on your MC that year or your DOT number, even if that person was only there for a day, it adds to the number and brings your average of incidents and accidents down. So there's a lot of things, I can have, one log violation, and that'll make me look like a worse company than a company that has 2 rollovers a week. And there are big companies out there that roll 2 trucks a week.
Yeah, and I mean, that's something that is a very real thing that we face out here in the industry. And I know we're addressing a gigantic problem here tonight. If you want to take part of the conversation at 706-862-8620, we're talking a little bit about why we think there is some of the important shortages out there, whether it has to do with the trucking industry specifically, the service industries that service like the truck stops or a variety of other things, and what we think some of those causes are. We'll be back with more of this very popular conversation right after this. Keep your ears on.
Being on the road can make you feel free, excited, and adventurous. It can also make you feel lonely and even depressed. So it's important for truckers, especially long-haul truck drivers, to bring items on the road to keep them entertained. Truckers have 10 hours off for a 24-hour day. Depending on how long the driver sleeps, there can be several hours where the trucker has nothing to do. We've broken down the list of essential items to keep in your truck in several different categories. The second category we talk about is entertainment. Laptop or tablet. Bring a laptop or tablet and stream your favorite movies or TV shows. If you don't have access to Wi-Fi or a personal hotspot, you can still bring your laptop, some DVDs, and watch a movie. Game console. Playing games is a great way to keep yourself entertained. You can also play with your friends. Bring your Xbox or PlayStation and set up your own gaming station in the cab of your truck. Puzzles, crosswords, or cards. If gaming or watching movies don't interest you, bring some puzzles or crosswords to solve. You can also get a deck of cards and play games like Solitaire, March Same Rank, Devil's Grip, Klondike. Books. Reading books is a great way to pass time and improve brain connectivity. Some popular trucker books include The Highway by C.J. Box, Blue Highways by William Least Heat Moon, Paradise Valley by C.J. Box, Rough Way to the Highway by Kelly Mac McCoy. Exercise equipment. Truck drivers' health suffers from the lack of exercise. Bringing exercise equipment on the road will keep you entertained and improve your overall well-being. There's several portable exercise equipment items you can store in the cab of your truck. They include dumbbells, resistance bands, kettlebells, and running shoes.
You're listening to TNCRadio.live. Remember to tune in to the Truckers Network radio show with Shelley Johnson weekdays at 3 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Eastern.
Welcome back, TNC Radio.live. This is Keep On Talking.
Thank you very much, Tom. And we are back here at the Counter of Knowledge. We've got Jess Graham and Bruce with us on tonight, and we have our co-host, as always, Christine Gray, to make me look smarter than I actually am. But if you want to take part of the conversation, 706-862-8620. We've got plenty of lines open, and there's room for you as we are talking tonight. Why we think, is there really, first of all, an underemployment or an employment shortage or an employee shortage? You hear it phrased so many different ways, but you hear all these companies out there saying, hey, we need more employees. That's why we're having to cut back hours here and cut back services there. What is the cause of that? And we're getting more in depth into some of the trucking stuff, but there's so many areas such as truck stops, the restaurants that service, that this is a major impact. I mean, go into almost any major truck stop, try and get dinner. That is a real challenge there some night. Christine, let's throw it to you for a little bit. What are some of the comments that you've heard on so far, some of your thoughts? And I also know you've got some opinions on some of this as well.
Automatic voice message system 2078381.
I don't know what that is.
I'm not quite sure what happened there, but you still there, Christine?
Yeah, I'm here.
Go ahead, Christine.
Okay. I think I'm seeing a lot of in the raw materials industry after COVID. When COVID hit, all these employers shut down, and they had to scramble to get product back up and running. And all these employees are being paid to stay home, so they had to compensate. I have a lot of guys, a lot of these plants I'm going in and out of that are running skeleton crews and have replaced bodies with machinery. They're not looking for employees anymore. And if you're charting around, you're looking at Dollar General, McDonald's, whatever. And again, it's not meant to be a career at minimum wage. It takes, right now, in today's market, it takes 3 people to make a household run. Not 1, not 2, but 3. 3 incomes. How are you supposed to handle that?
And I think that's a really valid point. Just recently came off the truck, living in an apartment in a full time, and I walked into the grocery store in November, and I hadn't shopped for groceries in eons. I mean, in any meaningful way where you're stocking up for the house. And I went to the eggs, and I'm going, okay, they should be $6. What the heck? Has it been that long since I bought groceries, not even realizing there was this quote unquote egg shortage, and seeing other prices that were just far higher than I imagined? I really do wonder how a lot of families are surviving. And earlier today, I was talking to our good friend Idella Hansen. She's busy tonight, going to make it on. But one of the things she threw out is going right along with what you said, Christine. A lot of companies are saying, hey, you know what? We need employees, giving lip service. But when you look at it, they're running skeleton crews at the truck stops, they're closing the restaurants early. And she was throwing out the idea that they're so used to making certain profit margins that the only thing they control now is employee wages. So they're using that to try to make some of these margins because they can't keep up with what the expectations of Wall Street's investors, whoever it is, year over year. And I think that's an interesting thing that needs to be thrown into this mix as well. I'm going to see if we've got Rob Fernald here with us. Rob, are you there? I guess.
If you are satisfied with your message, press 1 to listen.
That's interesting. No, we don't have Rob. Okay. Well, Rob, if you're listening, please call back because somehow or another we have your voicemail. That was an interesting problem. But anyways, actually, I think he's trying to call us back right now. So let's see if this works. There we go. Hit the right button, Tom.
Jerry Fritz, talking about the oversupply of trucks.
Hey, Jerry, how are you doing tonight? I thought you was actually somebody else there as I was bringing you on, but how are you doing?
Oh, not bad. How about yourself, Tom?
I'm doing well. So I think you've heard of some of the conversations that we've maybe been having tonight, but just a short recap for yourself and everybody else. We're talking about, is there a shortage of drivers out there for a lot of companies or employees in general? Because we walk into so many different businesses and it seems like there's short staff, long lines, weird hours that they're closing. What are some of your thoughts on this?
Okay, why does it seem that we only seem to have a shortage of drivers in the truckload business? Why isn't there a serious shortage of drivers in the LTL business? I've maintained for a long time we don't have a shortage of drivers relative to freight demand. We have a shortage of trucks because we have a shortage of drivers to man the oversupply of trucks. They don't seem to have that problem. And when it comes to a shortage of drivers, how come the LTL carriers can hire the best trained, the best qualified, the best supervised drivers in a heartbeat and retain them for decades?
Well, and I'm going to jump in here for a quick second if I can, Jerry. I know we've got some mutual friends that work over there in the Memphis area in the LTL side, and I'm not going to mention any names to protect the guilty, but they drive for some of the really well-known yellow and blue carriers, shall we say. And one of the things that I've heard them saying is that he's noticing that particularly during the pandemic, maybe not quite so much now, that they were hiring a lot more less trained drivers, in fact, training some themselves. And he says there's days where he would walk in and find out that there is a driver who's recently got a license, recently came to the company, has maybe went through set training in training, and they're basically throwing him out on the road unsupervised, pulling doubles, very to the career in challenging weather.
I got an answer for that, Tom. Sooner or later, go way, way back. We were talking about the industry giants. We call them LTL now. They were common carriers at one time. They did truckload and LTL. They always hired from, let's say, the lower echelon, lower train area of the industry to start with. When you go back X number of years ago, everybody wanted to get with the Roadway. Everybody wanted to get with the CF. Everybody wanted to get with the Schneider Transport. See, the lower echelon jobs at one time were the training areas for the large, what we call LTL now, and I just use the word, different type of carriers before. The industry giants. So really, really good jobs. Really, really
common carriers.
Yeah, there you go, common carriers. They didn't have to train their own. Now, there was a way they did, by the way, and I fell in that group in a way, even though I'm second, third generation. You went to work in a dock at 18, 19 years old. My neighbor right across the street here, Steve, went to work in a dock at 18, 19 years old, right out of high school. Began to get some seniority, so on and so forth, with Consolidated Freightways. The next thing you know, he's riding around helping the city driver pick up and deliver freight and getting on the job training. Pretty soon, Steve knows how to back up because that's all he's been doing in the yard while he's been learning.
Right.
He learned how to load the freight, how to monitor the freight, how to handle it. Then at some point, he gets a city job when the bid comes due. Then at some point, if he wants, once he's got X amount of time in the city, next thing you know, a road job comes up and he bids on the road. Steve just retired with 40-something years, only worked to 2 carriers, Consolidated Freightways and ABF. No shortage there. See, at one time, that's how we grew. I started right out of high school working in the yard in a manufacturing plant. Got a job locally before I was only 21 years old because you didn't have to be 21 in Jersey. After I made the seniority list there, now I'm over 21. I start looking around for a little carrier that did regional LTL. Got on there, and the next thing you know, I'm with the 6th largest carrier in the nation, stayed there a lifetime until deregulation did away with those jobs.
And Jerry, I'm going to jump in.
Driver training.
Jerry, I need to jump in here for a minute. Jerry, I've got to jump in for a minute because we're coming up on a break. I think you've raised some good points. The one thing I do want to throw out, though, is I know some of those bigger LTL carriers have been struggling to retain drivers because they've been offering some huge hiring bonuses for some of them. And I think some of it's market dependent. I know Ohio was offering, I think, $10,000, $15,000 for ABF not too long ago. So there are some challenges there. But we've got a new guest coming on that we're going to bring on here in just a minute. There's still plenty of room for you and a lot more great conversation and discussion as to what our thoughts are as to what's going on with some of the employment issues. 706-862-8620. We'll be back right after this. Keep your ears on.
Truckers Life Radio from TFC Global with your host, Ron Frazier, every Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. On the show, Ron interviews guests to help inform professional drivers just like you about the importance of things like human trafficking to sex addiction to how to overcome the impossible odds on the way to success. Every Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Hi, I'm Dr. Christopher Cortman, and now for the Mental Health Minute. The great Alfred Adler used to talk about children quite a bit, and he said, children are very astute observers, but they draw erroneous conclusions about what they've observed. Therefore, they need adults to help them translate what they're witnessing and to put a good perspective on it. Case in point, years ago, a 4-year-old boy watched his father in the backyard swimming pool going headfirst down the slide into the water. When he hit the water, his hairpiece came off. Nothing was said. It was not a big deal. But several weeks later, at the boy's birthday party, everyone was going down that same slide into the pool. The boy's father challenged him to go head first and even pushed him. And all the way down the slide, he screamed, "No!" Great tears. When he finally hit the water, he was hysterically crying. The father said, "What's wrong? What's wrong? You've been down the slide 1,000,000 times." And he said, "I don't want my hair to come off." Excellent observation, quite astute, but an erroneous conclusion. So what do we do with that? We ask children what they're thinking. We find out how they're processing things. We give them the opportunity to feel safe to tell us what's on their mind. And wherever it's necessary, we correct their thinking. We give them more accurate information and information that helps them to feel safer and better about themselves. And then hopefully they'll be able to keep their head and keep their hair.
Hey drivers, did you hear music on TNCRadio.live that you really liked? Or maybe you heard us interview an author of a book you'd like to read or listen to. You can get the books, music, and other products you hear about by going to our website at www.tncradio.live and clicking on the shopping cart.
Welcome back in TNCRadio.live. This is Keep On Talking. Here's Tom Kirk.
Hey, thank you very much, Tom Kelly. We are joined here by Rob Fernald, among a cast of among most of our originals tonight, and we're talking around the counter of knowledge about the job market, some of the trends we're seeing, how we think this is being impacted, some of the factors that are on it. Is there really an employee shortage? What does that mean? And why does it just seem like everywhere as you go, everybody's saying we don't have enough employees, we need more employees, no one wants to work? But, when you look at some of the job numbers out there, the unemployment numbers are roughly around 3%, and there's that's what they call the U3 number. That U3 number is the one you hear talked about in the news all the time. Then the U6 is around, I had those numbers here just a second ago. That's a little bit higher, around 5.6%. And what that is, those are the people who maybe are underemployed, need more work, a whole bunch of other factors, have given up actively looking for jobs. So, compared to where we were just a few months ago, we're in far better shape, but, we're not as in great shape as we would like to be, but we're getting better. We're doing better, but the numbers are not necessarily reflecting what a lot of people are reporting in real life. Rob, what are some of your thoughts of what we're talking about right now?
Hey, Tom. Good evening. Yeah, I think you might have hit the nail on the head just a little bit. If you listened to our illustrious president's speech last night, the new businesses opening in the country is an astronomical number. So I think that may have a little bit to do with it. I don't necessarily believe them to be giant businesses with a bunch of employees, but I think that mom and pop decided that they can use their Cricut to print T-shirts. Or, maybe you found, a small family business that somebody can get into. And, you laughed about OnlyFans, but man, I'll tell you what, the commissioner of the Department of Conservation in New York just lost her job due to her OnlyFans account. And she said that she would make more money with her OnlyFans account than she was at her $400,000 a year job. So you may have hit the nail on the head a little bit.
And that's the thing that kind of amazes me. I think many of you may remember the show American Pickers. And I was watching it the other day, and the female star Danielle there and her daughter both have an OnlyFans page. And her daughter is admitting that she makes up to 6 figures a month doing OnlyFans. Now, if I was OnlyFans, 6-figure income per month. So I've thought about starting an OnlyFans. The difference is you pay me to keep my clothes on.
Right. I hear you there, 100%. Listen, the young lady that was running the Department of Conservation, it was a $400,000. It was actually a $460,000 a year position. Now, of course, that didn't include the benefits package. It was a state job. She had a great benefits package on top of that. Think about the numbers here. It's crazy, but
it really is. Yeah. And getting back to something you said here a minute ago, Rob, is let's say, you hear a lot of people saying they're starting their own businesses. It might be a trucking company. It could be a T-shirt company, a custom-made soap company, candles. We've seen all different things. And the people that are going all in on this, they're really not having time to work another job because they are going all in on this and trying to make it work. So that is one person that is taken out of the other employment categories. And maybe it's even a case where they're no longer, they might still be working 2 jobs, but they're working the job at, maybe it's the Pilot Flying J or wherever it was. Plus they're doing this and they're not doing the Flying J and the McDonald's and the Denny's and whatever else they were doing. And I think that all adds up there in a little bit. Bruce, we haven't heard from you in a couple of minutes. Let's kick over to you for a little bit here. What are some of your thoughts on this?
Let's see. Through the pandemic, people got paid to stay home. And a lot of them were making more money than they were when they were working. Now, when it's time to go back to work, some of the jobs aren't there because of the pandemic. Some are still here. And the society we have right now, not all kids, but quite a few, have not been brought up with the respect for a job like we were. And it's basically go to work, I want to get paid. And they don't want to work. They just want to get paid. And McDonald's, $15 an hour. Yeah, it's not really, should not be that high. That's a beginning. That's where the kids begin to learn how to work and whatnot, and learn what it's like to get an income. Truck stops, getting rid of the restaurants. I went to one. I was stuck at one in Knoxville, Tennessee one night. And I was very shocked because the restaurant was always open that one there was open 24. And it was snowing. And it was snowing pretty hard. And I went to go in the restaurant and they said, "Oh, we're closed." I said, "Well, what do you mean you're closed?" "Oh, we're all going home." "Why?" "Well, snowed outside." Okay. And she made a comment that, "Well, we have families to go home to." I'm like, okay, and we don't? Yeah. I remember back in the day when the waitressers would rather be at work. Yes, they're getting paid. Yes, they're tired. But they stayed open. They stayed there for us. And they also knew they were going to make a heck of a lot of money off a tip.
Oh, yeah.
They were doing what they were doing.
And I remember more than once
tipping at it that way.
And I remember more than once tipping a waitress really well on holidays, snowstorms, whatever, because of that fact. They were helping us out in a situation, and particularly if a table before me stiffed them. It wasn't unusual for me to leave a tip for the table before me if I found out that they had stiffed a person. Why? Because it wasn't right for that waitress to get screwed in a situation like that. And we still see some of that going on now. But you reminded me of a story that I completely forgot about, Bruce. Years and years ago, when I first started trucking, and this was right before we saw the first recession around 2009. I've been in the industry around 4 years. A whole bunch of the mom and pop truck stops were closing down their restaurants. And the reason why, they said, we can't pay enough to keep employees in this area. The surrounding wages are getting too high and things like that. And it seemed like a little while later, we ran into a recession. And one of the theories that I've kind of noticed is, and I'm not saying this is going to hold true this time, but I've noticed in different recessions in the past, when you start noticing the small truck stop businesses close, whether it's the restaurants, the truck stops, and they're saying, we can't afford the wages, it seems like that there is a recession or something else that's soon on its heels. Hey, Jess, we've got a couple minutes before our next break. What are some of your thoughts on this?
I think money's always going to be the answer. If you want to employ somebody, you have to pay them well and treat them with dignity. So as an elder millennial, it's the millennials and the Gen Zs that have decided, we've been told that these are crap jobs and you don't deserve, your labor is only worth X amount of dollars. They've decided, well, then I guess I'm not going to do it and I'll just do something myself. I'll come up and I'll start my own business. I'll do something else. Like, they found other ways to generate income because they can't find somebody that says, you know what, you're a person, so I'm going to treat you like a person. I'm going to pay you like a person. I'm one that does not believe that, I believe labor is labor. So if you're doing a job, you deserve a certain amount of respect in doing that. So if you, I know my daughter did fast food, all through high school. So I understand, like, they're on their feet 8, 10, 12 hours a day. And they are, have you ever been to a McDonald's when there's a line out the door? Absolutely. I've Karen'd it like quite a bit, get irritated that my burger was made wrong. Well, because it is a stressful job. They deserve, so if you can't find people to actually, be treated well and paid fairly for that labor, then there is no, anyways, but for me, on a business side, I'm having a hard time finding somebody that's qualified. I can't find, everybody that calls me, they're like, yeah, I got 5 years, but I got an automatic restriction. Well, you are useless to me. Go back to that big fleet. Go back to the recruiter that told you at your schooling that you didn't need to learn how to drive a manual because everybody's going to automatic. And that means that they get cut out of, I can offer them, a far better wage, and I can offer them more benefits in the form of self-dispatching, really a lot of flexibility, and they are, in teaching them the truly how it is to be an owner-operator, but they don't have the skills required to operate my pre-ELD manual equipment.
And Jess, we got to.
I can't even find people that know how to fill out a log paper.
And that is a challenge. And I mean, filling out a paper log is a skill. In some ways, it's an art. And I don't mean the creative portion. I mean the part of doing it right, where you have all the form and manner issues correct, so you don't go and get a ticket. But we've got to take our last break here. Flo's warning us that it's getting near the top of the hour. So we'll be right back after these messages. Stay tuned and keep those ears on.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
diesel particulate filter regeneration.
The DPF catches particulates left over from combustion. The DPF regeneration cycle cleans the filter with temperatures exceeding 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. A computer sensor triggers the DPF regen, which is often accompanied by a loss of power and fuel economy. The frequency of DPF regens are in correlation to the cleanliness of the fuel burn. Under heavy operation with the dirty burn, DPF regens can occur multiple times per day. Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme Fuel Additive promotes a more complete combustion, creating fewer emissions and therefore fewer DPF regens. Vehicles using Diesel Extreme experience 83% less DPF regens.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, Fine Farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
Finding a safe place to park your rig at night can be a challenge on the road. The Truckers Network, a membership resource site for trucking companies, company drivers, and owner-operators, proudly partners with Truck Park to offer safe and secure overnight truck parking to all Truckers Network members. Truck Park is the digital truck parking leader and America's fastest-growing truck parking service. The Truckers Network exists to link truck drivers with the best quality trucking products and services the industry has to offer. Finding safe overnight parking is crucial for truck drivers, and many drivers struggle with finding available parking spots. The limited parking availability causes drivers to lose sleep, which poses a safety risk to others on the road. Safe parking is valuable for drivers and the cargo they're transporting. With this partnership, Truckers Network members will have access to a discount code and be able to reserve parking spots in real time along their truck route at a reduced price. Truck Park gives drivers access to parking locations across most of the United States. Simply enter the city and state to view available parking spaces nearest a pickup or delivery point, then pay to reserve. Parking rates vary at each location, with some rates as low as $10. Truck Park is a values-based company that empowers truck drivers while providing a safe and unmatched experience. The company offers a quick way to find and reserve parking spots throughout the U.S. Truck drivers have access to Truck Park's free mobile app to easily begin reserving parking spots based on their truck route. About the Truckers Network. The Truckers Network exists to link truckers and trucking businesses throughout the United States. The company's mission is to make the life of a truck driver easier by connecting drivers to the highest quality trucking products and services to keep their trucks on the road.
Do you feel like you're facing more than just the physical road ahead of you? Are you wondering if there's more to life? Join Ron Frazier, the host of Truckers Life Radio, every Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, where he discusses the spiritual side of a driver's life. On the show, he goes through the spiritual and moral questions drivers face on a daily basis, helping you, the driver, as you travel life's highway.
All right, welcome back in. TNC Radio.live. This is Keep On Talking. Here's Tom Kirk.
Hey, thank you very much, Tom Kelly. It's been a pleasure to be here tonight with you guys around the counter of knowledge. We've had a very interesting topic about some of the, are we really having an unemployment shortage, or is it maybe we have too many jobs, or, and it's kind of went around the whole gamut, both in trucking and without. But we've had some really interesting conversation tonight. Rob, I know you, during the break, you mentioned you had a few points you'd like to make in regards to the LTL and certain other things. Go ahead.
Yeah, Jerry had made the mention that LTL was the place to be, that, you know, LTL doesn't have a hard time keeping drivers, you know, versus truckload. Well, I agree with the sentiment. You know, truckload is, you know, in my personal opinion, is usually a starter type area. But I think that if you look at the numbers for LTL fleets, you'll find the turnovers as high as you know, maybe not the giant mega fleet trucking companies, but as high as a lot of the trucking companies out there, the truckload carriers. And then the flip side is, you also got to remember, Jerry, every single LTL company out here has their own school, multiple schools, multiple locations across the country. So they're actually bringing up their own crop, which is a total different subject we could get into sometime, Tom, that you would be quite amazed at some of the numbers there. But, you know, that's my only point. I think that people aren't anywhere near as dedicated to their employer anymore, mainly because employers aren't dedicated to their employees anymore. But that's it. Sorry.
I think there's some truth to that. I think when you do see some of the smaller companies out there, whether it's you know, the real small independents like JetScram, or the smaller specialized fleets like an IBI, they do have the ability to get to know drivers and do their best to meet their needs on a wide variety of fronts. And are they perfect? Of course not. They do try hard. And they do offer some interesting work environments and challenges. So I think that's great. I think that when you get to the big companies, they all have their problems. And I do think a lot of things have changed in the last 3 to 5 years. I think they were changing before the pandemic, and they got worse during the pandemic. Jerry, I know Rob raised a few points here. We've got just a couple of minutes. I'll give you a chance here to give your response to him.
Okay, I go by facts, not sentiments. Up until, let's say, the pandemic, go back 4, 5, 6 years ago, the industry stats on turnover was 90-something% in truckload. That's not big carrier. Truckload and LTL, or what we call the LTL, was 8 to 10%. The non-union LTLs are running FedEx here about 14, 15%. The union down around 4 or 5%. So that is more than sentiment. Now, up until only recently, that these so-called LTL companies start schools. Now, another one we want to throw in here is, what about the private carriers? The private carriers, their turnover is running 20 to 30%. Still far below the truckload side. Then I got to throw this in. This could probably blow some stuff. But remember, we're even debating here, what could it be? There'll be those now stand on their head, but I got the documents right here in front of me in 1969, and it was mostly union men. So we do have to throw that in, and I know that aggravates some, but we're talking about numbers and not sentiments here, correct? My pay in the National Master Freight Agreement, which controlled 87% of the regulated manufactured goods, was 13.34 cents per mile. Run that through the inflation calculator, which you use by Wall Street government, and have the same standard of living today. Remember, there's no turnover. We had to wait for people to die, retire, get killed. I replaced a guy got killed to get those jobs. To have the same standard of living at 13.34 cents a mile provided today, the driver pay would have to be $1.06 a mile. In 1984, I was top of the board at $50,000 a year. That would be $136. Now you'd say that's impossible. Well, wait a minute. That can't be impossible, because the economy did afford that at one time.
And Jerry,
So you
I
take
hate
the
to do
LTL
this.
Yeah.
Jerry, I hate to do this to you, but we're getting near the top of the hour, so I'm going to have to cut you off. But I think what we're going to do here very soon in the next couple of weeks, we're going to get back into more specifically some of this topic now is driver wages, retention, and things like that. I'll look into maybe bringing a couple of guests on from a couple different aspects, and I definitely want you, Jerry and Rob here for that conversation. I think we can have a very interesting and debateful topic on that from a few different perspectives. But we're coming up next with Taillights with Larry and Angie Baum. They got a great guest tonight, Brian Petrie. And then after that, at our 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern, is going to be Clutch Time Sports with Anderson and Banker as they talk everything about sports with a trucking twist, or should I say geared to trucking. So it's going to be a real interesting conversation. I bet you they're even going to talk a little bit about the Super Bowl tonight. So we're going to have a lot of fun there. In the last couple of minutes here we have left before we go, I'd like to pay a tribute to a good friend of mine, Bubba Bo. As many of you know, lost his battle to cancer last week on Friday. Bubba was a good friend to me, to a lot of drivers out there. We always didn't agree on a whole lot of issues, but it was always fun to talk to Bubba. Bubba, I'm going to miss you. He did guest host a few times here on Keep On Talking Live, and was a privilege to work with a man like him and see how even when he wasn't feeling good and he was suffering with cancer and he knew he wasn't at his best, he was the consummate professional, worked well to not make just me, but the station, the show, and most importantly, you, the callers, look good. And I learned a lot from him. Bubba, you're going to be greatly missed. And, you know, I just wanted to take a few minutes tonight to say thank you. And I said it both on air before while you were still with us and personally many times, but I want everybody to know tonight how much I've appreciated you, your friendship and mentorship over the years and during my time here on Keep On Talking Live. Like I said, we're going to be coming up next with Taillights with Larry and Angie Baum. After that will be Anderson and Banker. We're going to have more great conversation next week here on Keep On Talking Live with myself and Christine Gray. And we're going to be covering a whole variety of topics. Once again, everybody, we couldn't do this without you. And Bubba, thank you so much for your love and support over the years. Until next week, everybody, keep your ears on. Stay tuned for Larry and Angie Baum. They're going to be coming up next. Good night.